2026's F1 calendar has been revealed, giving fans a first look at how the first season of the new technical regulations will play out. Planning an F1 season is never easy. Finding weeks when tracks, or city centres, can be taken over by the sport and a few 100,000 fans can't be simple. Then you have to try and plan it out to reduce travel as much as possible and not have weeks at a time without any racing. It's a complex problem. Next season's calendar has some wins, but there are also some glaring problems that have left fans scratching their heads. Today, I'll check it out and point out what to look forward to and where the problems lie, so don't go anywhere. 2026 will usher in an all-new era for Formula One, with sweeping changes to the chassis and power unit regulations set to be introduced. That promises to radically shake up the pecking order as teams grapple with active aerodynamics and an increased reliance on hybrid power. To go with the new cars will of course be a new calendar and a new track. The Madrid Grand Prix event will conclude the European leg of the season, falling after the Italian Grand Prix in mid-September. That event remains subject to confirmation as, like any new venue, it must be homologated by the FIA ahead of time. The temporary Madrid street circuit is being built in the area of Campo de las Naciones, which is around 18.6 miles northeast of the city centre. While some of the circuit will follow public roads, a large section is also going to be built specifically for F1, making it more of a hybrid street circuit than a classic street track. The area the track is going to be based in is essentially an exhibition centre, hosting various large-scale international events. It is quite literally across the road from Madrid's airport, which was a big plus in the eyes of Formula One management. The 5.47-kilometre course will have 22 corners and 2 tunnels, which will take the cars under an existing roadway. The highlight of the circuit will be the over 180-degree Turn 10, which is going to be banked like the last corner at Zandvoort, with some reports saying that the banking could be as steep as 30 degrees. What may have been a bit premature is this statement from circuit ambassador Carlos Sainz. "I think we can be the best circuit in the world and the best event of the whole calendar." That is an outlandishly hot take. The circuit hasn't even been built yet, and considering how little effort was put into the video tour they released of it, it's impossible to have any faith that the Mad Ring, as it will be known, can back up Sainz's claims. Speaking of that video, if you've already seen it, then you'll know why people are very worried about this race. And if you haven't, then you're in for a real treat. Honestly, how many people saw this thing and thought, yep, this is what we want people's first impression of the track to be? My personal favourite part of this video is this bit. It's the turn 5 and 6 chicane, and whoever is driving the simulation takes in way too much speed, the car doesn't turn, they cut the second part of the chicane and whack the wall on exit, almost completely binning it. If you're spending what must be the better part of $1 billion on building and advertising this new F1 race that you want to call the best in the world, why would you not try another take or two to actually get a clean lap? Did they do 10 takes and this was the best one, so they just said that'll do and all went for lunch? Like, come on guys, at least try and put your best foot forward rather than getting the CEO's son to run a few laps on his PlayStation after school to use as your main advertising video. The highlight of the track is obviously Turn 10, Le Monumental. The corner features a gradient of, as I said, up to 30%, with 550 meters that will be covered in just over 5 seconds at around 300 kilometers an hour. On the outside of the corner, a grandstand will be installed to provide views to up to 45,000 spectators. Being sat right above that corner, watching the cars go past is going to be pretty special. It's going to be a very NASCAR viewing experience, which will be something new to modern F1. There is zero chance of it being an overtaking zone, especially with the medium-speed turns before it, but it'll be pretty spectacular. Of course, the arrival of the new Madrid Grand Prix will mean the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix at Imola drops off the calendar, which was expected, having held 5 races since returning as an F1 host in 2020. President and F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali said, "We're excited to welcome Madrid to the calendar and to see huge automotive brands like Audi, Cadillac and Ford join the Formula One grid. It promises to be an unforgettable season, where once again we'll come together at 24 amazing global venues to watch the best drivers in the world push themselves to the limit and produce incredible wheel-to-wheel racing for our millions of fans watching around the globe." As soon as the calendar was released, one glaring problem appeared. But before I talk about it, if you're enjoying this video and want to catch all the news and analysis from this weekend's Canadian Grand Prix, then make sure to press the like button and subscribe to F1 Reverse. Thanks a lot. So for the first time in the history of the Formula 1 Championship, a Grand Prix is going to be going directly up against the Indy 500 in 2026 after the Canadian Grand Prix was moved. Traditionally, the Montreal race has taken place on the second weekend of June, a couple of weeks after the Monaco Grand Prix and Indy 500, which happen at the end of May. However, for 2026, in a bid to increase calendar regionalization, the Canadian Grand Prix has been shifted forward to the weekend of May 22nd to 24th, with Monaco falling back to June 5th and 7th. With this schedule, Canada forms a mini North American leg with Miami on May 1st to 3rd, with Monaco then kicking off an uninterrupted European season, concluding with the new Madrid Grand Prix on September 11th to 13th. But in doing so, and moving the Montreal race forward to the 24th of May, it means for the first time in history, an F1 Grand Prix will take place at the exact same time as the Indy 500. The Indy 500 usually begins at around 12:45 Eastern Time on the Sunday before Memorial Day, which in 2026 falls on Monday the 25th of May. The Canadian Grand Prix in 2025 is set to begin at 2 o'clock Eastern Time, an ideal time zone for Europe with a 7 o'clock start UK time. The Indy 500 usually takes around 2.5 to 3 hours to complete, meaning there's set to be a direct clash between the two, in roughly the same market as well. Although the Monaco Grand Prix and the Indy 500 usually take place on the same day, given the time differences involved, Monaco was usually finished by the time the green flag at IMS. For many European fans, the idea of the Indy 500 and the Canadian Grand Prix clashing isn't exactly a problem. But for a growing American audience, it will pose a problem. F1 will still sell out the Canadian Grand Prix for track-going fans, but for those watching at home, it'll be a tough decision to choose between one of the biggest, if not the biggest, race day in US motorsport and the Canadian Grand Prix. There could also be another major clash which would affect fans based outside of the US, and that is with the Le Mans 24 Hours. While Le Mans and the Canadian Grand Prix are both on this weekend, the world's premier endurance race is scheduled to finish 3 hours before the Canadian Grand Prix begins. Usually, F1 tries to keep a free weekend for Le Mans, or at least tries to stop the two races being on at the same time, but that probably won't be the case in 2026. On the 2026 calendar, Barcelona is currently penciled in for June 12th to 14th, meaning that race and Le Mans could finish at around the same time. If you've watched the channel for a while, you'll know I'm a fan of a bit of endurance racing, and having to pick between focusing on Le Mans or the Spanish Grand Prix on a Sunday afternoon on the sofa is a tough one. From F1's point of view though, they know they are the bigger fish, and they can race when they want to, but it's far from ideal. But what do you think? Are the clashes with the Indy 500 and Le Mans a problem for you? And what are your thoughts about the new Madrid Grand Prix? Let me know in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.